Hi guys, it's Alex here with Recombo, and I have here two of the hottest new devices on the market. The second level devices following the two flagships that have been battling out in the Android camp so far this year. On the left we have the brand new HTC One Mini, which is just about to hit the market. And on the right we have the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini. So two of the flagships have been distilled down into these smaller, more affordable devices that still offer a lot of the premium flagship experiences. So I'm going to take you around the devices themselves first and foremost. The HTC One Mini does look every inch a flagship, just like its bigger brother. It still maintains that metal finish on the back and the front, and you still get elements like the boom sound speakers at the top and the bottom of the display with the micro drilled holes. And on the back you can see there's actually fewer antenna lines, so it's actually a cleaner look overall than the original HTC One, with a few liberties taken with the aesthetic. There's a shiny plastic edge now. But on the whole it's metal with this plastic accents, whereas the Galaxy S4 Mini is, like the S4 itself, an all plastic design. That being said, it does feel very comfortable in the hand. It's a lot smoother and more rounded than the flagship, mainly down to the smaller size. The rounding on the corners is still probably about the same geometry wise, but you get the plastic front and back and these faux metal accents along the side, so it does look very premium. It feels a lot better than the S3 Mini, which we saw last year. The displays on the front are both 4.3 inch HD displays. We have a 720p SLCD 2 screen on the front of the HTC One Mini here, and we have a 4.3 inch Super AMOLED QHD display, which is a 960 by 540 display on the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini. On the top here we both have front-facing cameras. We have, I believe, a 1.9 on the S4 Mini and a 1.6 on the HTC One, so slightly lower resolution on the HTC One, but you get a wide-angle lens, so you'll be able to fit more in the shot without having to hold the camera too far away from your face. If I flip them over, you have the standard single speaker on the back of the S4 Mini, but of course the Beats audio, and as I mentioned earlier, the front-facing stereo speakers, so you'll get a better output on the loudspeakers from the HTC One Mini over the S4 Mini. The cameras, now the S4 Mini uses an 8 megapixel snapper with a similar sensor to last year's S3 flagship, so you'll still get a really great camera experience, whilst the HTC One Mini uses the exact same ultra pixel, the 4 ultra pixel camera sensor used by its flagship bigger brother, so you'll get the same imaging. The only shortcoming being that there is no optical image stabilization, so low light shots probably won't look as good as with the original HTC One, but you still will no doubt get a great imaging experience. Also, whilst we're here, I noticed the Beats audio is still present and correct, as you'd expect from any current HTC device. Along the side we have the power lock key on the right hand side for the S4 Mini, but the volume rockers, which have now been split over the original one. And on the left side we just have the micro SIM tray for the One and the volume rocker for the S4 Mini. The bottom both just have the main microphone and micro USB ports for charging and data transfer. And on the top we have a 3.5mm headphone jack, as you can see on both devices, as well as the power lock key and the IR sensor on the S4 Mini. The HTC One Mini loses the infrared blaster that its bigger brother has, whilst the S4 Mini retains that. So if you do want to use services like Watch On, that is an element that the equivalent no longer features on the One. So Watch On is still present on the S4 Mini, but there's no remote control functionality on the HTC One Mini. That still just remains with its flagship bigger brother. Now if I flick the devices on, you can see, as I said, we have SLCD 2 and Super AMOLED tech going on here. So you'll get better, more punchy colours from the S4 Mini, but you'll get great whites and a great overall viewing angles and contrast balance from the likes of the SLCD on the HTC One Mini. The interfaces, as you can see, are both very slick and snappy on both devices. These are both dual-core phones. They're not quad-core like their flagship counterparts. So even though the specs are a little bit more frugal, you still get a really nice, smooth experience. The more powerful of the two devices is in fact the S4 Mini. The HTC One Mini, uses a 1.4 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon Qualcomm Snapdragon 400 processor, and the S4 Mini uses the same processor but clocked at 1.7 GHz. So you get a faster processor. In addition, you get 1.5 GB of RAM on the S4 Mini, where there's only 1 GB of RAM on the One Mini. So you get more RAM and a faster clock speed on the S4 Mini. Now that doesn't mean it will guarantee to be faster throughout the UI, because of course, even though both are using custom overlays, The TouchWiz HUX running atop the S4 Mini is definitely heavier as an user interface. The One Mini has all of the benefits of the One with regards to Sense 5, which is one of the nicest alternative user interfaces that we've seen from any of the manufacturers. I think that the Sense 5 interface does look really, really great. And this is the version of TouchWiz HUX 2.0. So it's actually because both devices are running 4.2.2, so they're both running the latest iterations of the latest overlays. And you can see that on the S4 Mini, you can see that by the likes of the clock widget here and the clock and weather widget. And on the One Mini, if I open up the notifications bar, you can see we have the shortcuts in the notifications bar, which wasn't present on the HTC One when it launched earlier this year. Besides the interface, as I said, Watch On is still available on the likes of the S4 Mini, as you can see down here, and you might have noticed that blink feed is still present and correct. You get a lot of the same features as the HTC One. You still get the HTC Zoe photos as well, HTC Boom Sound, as I said, on the hardware front. You just miss out on that TV experience that the S4 Mini still retains. If we just swipe around the UI a little bit more, you can see just really how smooth and slick these two devices are. It is incredible considering these are now more affordable devices, but they still feel and look very, very premium. And the game on the whole level, I think, has been stepped up across the market. The last thing to point out probably is the storage options. The S4 Mini has less storage with 8 GB of internal storage, whilst the HTC One Mini uses 16 GB. But like its bigger brother, the HTC One Mini is a unibody device. There's no way to expand the memory. So you're only stuck with that 16 GB of internal storage and then cloud storage after that. So Dropbox or whatever other cloud storage services, you like to use. Meanwhile, the S4 Mini might only have 8 gigs, 5 of which is user accessible, but it does have expandability under the back with the removable back cover revealing a micro SD slot that allows for SD cards up to 64 GB. So you can effectively pack a lot more onto the S4 Mini, despite the internal storage is a little bit lower. Aside from that, you know you're going to get a great experience whichever way you go. So it boils down really to which design do you prefer, the more premium design of the HTC One or the more impressive spec sheet of the S4 Mini. So that is a really quick look at both of these devices side by side. If you've got any questions, drop us a line down below and head to recombo.com for anything else.